My name is Denzel McCampbell. I am a candidate for Detroit City Council in District 7 as well. I would first say is that when you're hearing about the average of, the average of 50% average with this study that's coming out, I think we have to make sure that every
When you're
home.
talking, they want you to stand up.
Okay. Oh, absolutely. Hello. We have to make sure that every home is actually assessed in the value that it has, because that's what they're using these averages, and we know that folks are falling below and above that average. So I will make sure that the board of assessors that the administration is actually appointing folks to that board that actually knows and has the view of the job that they have. That the city assessor, is someone that's competent in that role, working with administration. But I think also with the city council and the way that we are the ones that are over the budget and have to approve the budget, we have to be stewards of those dollars every step of the way to make sure that we are saying, we're giving you this money, but are you actually assessing the homes? Are you actually doing what you have to do to make sure that there is no overassessment? So making sure that our dollars are well spent and being that oversight constantly. We also have to make sure that the state assessor's office actually knows the different ways that folks in the city of Detroit are buying homes and are getting homes, whether that's through quick claim deeds, whether that's through getting from family members, different ways that folks are coming to home ownership, to make sure that we are getting the information on how folks can appeal and the cost that comes with home ownership and what that would look like to make sure that they are assessed right. And then the last thing I will say is I agree with Ms. Johnson on the aspect of education. Make sure that folks know the options that they have with appeal, and we have to make sure that we're bringing city government to folks. I always talk about the neighborhood city halls that we had in the city at one point. We can make sure that we have that in districts, in neighborhoods, that we're going to folks to meet folks where they are, to make sure that they know the options that they have. But at the end of the day, we have to make sure that we have an administration that is a city council that is working with administration, that is holding administration accountable, that is just not according to the law. It's about making sure that folks have justice and not operating to the letters of the law and still having people overassessed. So thank you so much. So Denzel McCampbell, District 7, candidate for Detroit City Council. I think one thing that and I know the coalition, you all know this, and you have been at the forefront. The fact that the administration continues to come back and says that giving folks their money back and reimbursing folks is unconstitutional. Well, it's unconstitutional to take the homes and overassess folks. So there needs to be there needs to be reparations for that. But they are hiding behind what they will say is the letter of the law. I think in my role and on that aspect, I would say as a city council person, is putting pressure on the new administration to give a new opinion on that, a new corporate council and law department to give a new opinion on that, but also to be an advocate on the state level when it comes to the Attorney General's office to actually implement an opinion on that. And I will say is that if it is against state law, that our state, like advocating for on the state level, with the Detroit caucus, the legislative caucus, to make sure that we change that law. Because the fact of the matter is that we overtaxed folks and took their homes, and they need to be made whole. Now, in addition to that, is the affected owner, the affected People's Benefit Fund. I don't have the exact name, but make sure that folks know that is available, of the opportunities that folks have in there. Also working with folks to make sure we identify folks who have been impacted by that, because since 2009, we know that a lot of folks may not be in the city of Detroit, may be elsewhere, so making sure that we are reaching folks, that they know what's available to them. But at the end of the day, we have to make sure folks are made whole, and I'm committed to being a true advocate and a partner with you all on pushing for that. The last thing I'll say when it comes to the question for the treasurer's office, like the professor said, it is not a ridiculous ask to say that we need to continue the moratorium. There is progress being made. At the end of the day, a city government, any government on all levels, should make sure that folks have their basic needs, and that includes housing. So why are we pushing folks out of their homes when we know that they're being overassessed on? To me, that is wrong. So I will use the platform of the city council office and vote. I will be a yes vote on that resolution time and time again, but to be actively organizing out with you all, making those calls, pushing folks to know that to call in, to write letters into that office to make sure that that pressure is there. Thank you. Again, Denzel McCampbell, candidate for District 7, Detroit City Council. On the first question on the board of review, we have to take an active role and be very thorough in who we're appointing. It can't just be someone we know, someone that may be friends with someone. We're talking about people's lives. So when we're thinking about the board of review, absolutely being very intentional. Just to put it basic and plainly, making sure that they do adhere to that. I'm not voting for an appointee. I'm not supporting an appointee that does not adhere to the ordinance and the qualifications that are required. Just simply put. On the aspect of the administration flying past deadlines, you know which deadline they definitely want to make sure we meet as a city council? The budget. So if you're not going to meet the deadlines that are outlined in ordinances, that because the city council is the legislative body, we are the legislative body of the city of Detroit. We are a branch of it, and you cannot disrespect what we have put forth as a city council. So if you're going to disrespect that and fly in the face of residents when it comes to overassessment, you're not going to get the funding for what you want in the budget. That's simply put, right? That is what we have to say, because time and time again, and folks who are watching city council meetings will see that the administration will come up and say, "Oh, you need to pass this. You need to vote for this contract." And a member will ask, "Oh, well, I don't have data on that for my district. Can you get us the data?" "Oh, we'll get that, but can you still vote for this contract?" "No, I'm not voting." "What do you mean?" Right? That is not why we're elected there. That is disrespectful to the residents that have elected us to be stewards of tax dollars. And you have to make sure that you're following the law. And when we're talking about this independent audit, again, housing is a life or death issue. We are talking about when folks are getting that tax bill and can't afford it, they're gonna lose their house. So why are we disrespecting what has been put forth in that ordinance? So I would be someone that would be making sure to hold them accountable in a steadfast way. If you're not going to respect the deadlines that you have in the law, we're not going to move on your priorities when it comes to the budget and other issues as well. So thank you. Denzel McCampbell, candidate for Detroit City Council District 7. Currently I serve as the managing director of an organization called Progress Michigan and Engage Michigan. We help the coalition with communications and lifting up the stories that folks are telling, connecting media to the work. Also a former communication and political director for Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, where we were partners with the coalition, pushing for accountability there. I'm a former charter revision commissioner as well, and I'm going to go down this list. As folks asked about the board of review, changing that, the change that came, that is now in the charter. I would be in support, but that would take a charter change, and that will have to go back to the voters as well. For the tax captures, these are false promises. We just know that, right? When you look at the illages, they said that they were going to have affordable housing. They came back and said, we are no longer going to have affordable housing. We're going to keep your money. And the city council said, "Oh, okay, we're just going to keep going." That cannot happen. We have to be aggressive and claw back that money. The Attorney General question, I'm just going to be very frank. Maybe it's a lack of political will, I'm not sure, but I will say is that this is why all of these issues are interconnected and why we have to ask these questions of folks on all levels of government, including our state legislature. What are they doing on tax assessment and changing the state law? What is the Attorney General going to do to get the money back for folks who have been overassessed on? It impacts us on all levels of government. I would be in favor of starting over. I think that would definitely need a lot of resources, and I would be interested in exploring how we would get that, but we have to make sure we are getting accurate assessments, period. On the aspect of public education, so my work is in communication and media. I believe we have to try it all, whether it's door knocking, phone calling, social media, meeting folks where they are, and we have to make sure we're working together in that way, working with the coalitions, other various organizations, block clubs, neighborhood associations, folks that are engaging people, young folks where they are. This is how we're going to get their information out, to let them know that they can engage the city council, they can join on Zoom. There's various ways. You don't have to just come downtown. I will also say the land value tax plan, I agree with Ms. Johnson on the aspect of this is something for the rich. I will also say what I am afraid of with the land value tax plan is that when they are promising us that this will increase the revenue that we have in the city and lighten the tax load, then they'll come back around that we have to cut services because we don't have enough money for things because the folks that are abandoned homes aren't paying their taxes anymore anyway. So those are things that my name is Denzel McCampbell, District for Detroit City Council. Thank you for the rapid fire.